Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back for another positive talk. We're getting so close to 200. It is crazy. Hopefully, all of you are having a good week so far. I'm actually pretty excited to be doing the lives this early. I actually feel more awake and less tired from the day. Hopefully, all are enjoying. I know a lot of people have been messaging me saying they want me to move them to this time of day for the rest of my positive talks. And if my guest can do it, I'm down. I definitely enjoy doing them a little bit earlier in the morning. I feel a little less weighed down by all the stuff I'm dealing with during the day. Hello.
Hello, Drummond.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's a beautiful day. I already got outside and got some fresh air this morning, so it's a little colder today than it was yesterday, but I'm enjoying it still. I know
Where
spring
is
is
it?
on its way.
Right. Where is it that you stay?
I'm in Richmond, Virginia, so we're experiencing the start of spring and I couldn't be more happy.
I bet. Well, I moved to Colombia just recently to escape the Scottish winter. So,
So
no.
it's you're still kind of experiencing the same, like spring is coming. I see you've got green trees.
It's beautiful here. I wake up to the sounds of birds every morning. It's honestly the perfect place.
That's always good. Yeah. I thrive when I'm outdoors. Excuse me. I grew up in the country, so when it comes to winter and not really having access to green and the outdoors, I definitely experience a little bit of seasonal depression during winter. So spring
Yeah.
is here. I'm definitely super excited to be able to be outdoors again.
Oh, I can totally appreciate that, man. Totally. I mean, I love Scotland, but the winters there are brutal.
Yeah, I had a lot of friends that I met through Clubhouse that live in the UK, and they were telling me like how brutal it is over there, and I was just like, ooh, yeah.
Mhm.
Here in Virginia, the mountains are very different than here in the city where I'm closer to like the coast. The mountains kind of kept the cold, whereas here the cold kind of slips through, which I'm very thankful for.
Right, right, of course. Yeah, I was let's see, in January. In January I was in Tenerife, and of course Tenerife is like the eternal spring, beautiful. And then I had to come back in February, and I remember I just got off the plane and it was directly hailing in my face. Horrible. And
Oh.
so, yeah, pretty quickly though, I think I stayed there 5 days and I was like, right, Colombia, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived in Florida and I had just moved from Chicago and I went back to visit my friends in the winter and like the humidity from Florida was still soft in my skin and I hit that Chicago winter wind and it just like destroyed my face. I was like,
Yeah,
going back to Florida, I'm not meant for Chicago winters, that's for sure.
but it hit hard. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I will let you introduce yourself so people know who you are, and then we can kind of jump into a fun discussion.
Yeah, sure. My name's Jordan. Obviously, I'm a yoga teacher. And yeah, recently I've just been trying to create loads of content, trying to give exercises, educate people online about all the things that they can do at home. So basically, yoga routines, morning routines, these kind of things, inspirational videos. Kind of a lot of the times, I feel like I'm talking to myself, like I'm pepping myself up. I'm telling myself what I need to hear and doing the things that I know that I need in my day as well, and being able to share that. And that's just felt right, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's how I usually create most of my content. I learned that like I used to think that I had to try to serve the world and like constantly ask the world what it needed until I
Mm,
realized that there's a lot of things I need, and through that, a lot of other people also needed that. And it's so
right.
much better to create content that feeds your soul as well, because like
Yeah.
that just keeps you going.
Yeah, of course. And then the energy's there. Then the authenticity is there because you know, you're part of the human race too. You need these things also. So it's beautiful.
Yeah. So what has been your journey to kind of lead you to yoga? Because I know that everyone kind of has their own journey into that. Because I mean, for a little while, I was just like, because my aunt growing up, she's always been a promoter of yoga. And I always just kind of joked around with it because the positions looked funny. Like as a child, I was very flexible. As an adult, I'm wishing that I kind of stayed in yoga to where I could still be as flexible. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
definitely kind of coming back around to the idea.
Mm-hmm. I think anyone that gets into yoga has that kind of thought, like, oh, if I just started early enough, I'd be able to touch my head to the floor, or, do whatever else. For me, it actually began with meditation for me, I think, and that's what led me to yoga, because I was like all over the place as a kid. They said that I had ADHD. Whether that was the case or not, I'm not convinced. But I was a kid, like I couldn't sit still in class. I needed to keep moving. And even as an adult, like my brain sends me all over the place. And I dealt with like just this impulsivity all the time, and I needed to find a way to control that. And I'm not even sure what the first experience of meditation was, but I quickly became completely enthusiastic with it. It just calmed me down in a way that nothing else ever could. And so I practiced that for a number of years. And I think it was through that, meeting people that are into meditation, that led me to yoga. And I was brought to a class by some friends. And then that was, for me, that was like the next level. That was probably one of the most challenging workouts that I've done in my life as well, surprisingly. It was like hot yoga, Bikram. So it was intense. I was completely drenched. I had to wring my towel out afterwards. It was horrible. Horrible, but also just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
That feeling of being like, I was intensely in that class, intensely in the moment for a whole hour an hour and a half, in such a way that, I felt really alive. And I think that's kind of where my journey started. And since then, I've tried many different kinds of yoga, many different styles. Eventually, it was like I needed to become a teacher. It was just meant to be. And yeah, it's completely changed my life. It's now part of every day. It's every day. Yeah.
I always find it so fascinating when people can kind of find that journey towards something that brings them that much like understanding. And when it comes to like when you were talking about like the ADHD or like ADD or anything like that, I always tell people like it's just because you haven't found a place to kind of use your energy that you have. I think that a lot of people have been labeled different things just because the current energy that they exist in doesn't align with their energy. And I think that when you can kind of find a place for your energy to exist in a realm where it is accepted and kind of flows, like it's so much easier to kind of feel like you've found the place that you belong. And
Yeah.
I always tell people when they start labeling themselves with stuff like that, I'm like, maybe do a little bit more exploring, because I think that there might be a place that you can kind of not feel like you're othered, but feel like you belong. And I think that most people have to kind of take that journey in life. And yoga isn't for everyone, but I think that meditation and yoga definitely create a space for a lot of useful knowledge and kind of use of your energy that you have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think, like you said, it's not for everyone, but it's the practice and activity that takes your energy and directs it in a very specific focus that I think was so powerful. I reckon, to be honest, I think it could have been martial arts. It could have been, any sport that I really could find that discipline in and that focus in. It's like converting, like you say, converting that energy that you have stored up that's quite destructive a lot of the times, and channeling it into a constructive activity.
Yeah. And there have been so many times like I because like my aunt and her being very yoga inclined, I didn't really connect with it in the way that she connected with it. So therefore my disconnect with yoga kind of began with my disconnect with the way she did it. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized there's lots of different ways you can do it. And when it comes to meditation, like there's not one simple way of meditating. Like there are lots of different things that you can do that can be considered meditating. And it just kind of took me learning more about myself, because it doesn't matter what other people do. It's all about connecting with yourself. And I think that for so long in my life, I was trying to find a way to connect, but through other people's experiences instead of
Mm.
just looking at my own experience and realizing that my experience is valid just as much as everyone else's. So it took looking inward and realizing that I had a lot to offer for me to even realize that there's a way that I can do everything that's fitting to me as a person instead of looking for outward answers in everybody else around me.
That is so cool, man. That's so powerful. You know, I've also had that kind of thought. Like there's plenty of books I've read, people I've learned about that have inspired me to really do things. But ultimately, the journey comes down to you, and you're an individual. You're completely unique, and like you say, you have to connect to that. You have to find a way to quiet yourself down enough to not be constantly, distracted thinking about what's going on out there, to figure out, what is it that I like? What am I like? And I think for me, meditation was that. It was sitting in stillness and listening intently.
Yeah. And I think that the pandemic did that for a lot of us too. Like it
Yeah.
gave us that stillness, because I think that a lot of times we use our environment and the people that are within it to kind of define who we are as people. And then you put a pandemic into play where you are more looking at yourself in the mirror and actually having to ask yourself, like, who am I? Like
Hmm.
that is a sense of discovering yourself in a way that was forced upon you. And some people, that was a scary moment to kind of see who they've become through time, because there's a lot of factors in your life that create who you are as a person. And I always tell people, like, your answers are in here, but your experiences in the outer world that doesn't exist within you asks you the questions to look inward and ask yourself, how about that? Does that work for me? Hey, this person is doing it this way. Maybe I'll try that. Oh, that doesn't really resonate. Oh, we'll throw that piece out. Oh, this person's doing it different. So it's not like all the answers are just sitting in here, ready for you to just look inward and like find. Sometimes it's the world outside that asks us a question that then we have to go inside and ask that question to see how it resonates with our like spirit.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like you're saying, the pandemic, how it just kind of forced everyone to look inward, or like you didn't have really a choice. It was the question that was being asked to you is, what are you really about when you're stripped of all these other social norms or these other conventions that you hold to. And it's amazing. I found it quite amazing how many people told me that the pandemic was really positive for them, like really positive. I have a couple of friends that it was pivotal. In fact, they needed it in their lives because they were so stressed with what was going on at school and work that they could finally breathe. One friend in particular, he said he finally had time to like take care of himself, to practice self-care, and it just changed his experience entirely. He was hating, I mean, he was really hating life in those moments before, and he had some space to figure himself out and then learn the tools as well that would help him in the future.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes we need a disruption in our life to kind of knock us out of habits that aren't good for us. And a pandemic that affect everyone on the entire globe is definitely a disruption that can kind of upset the norm that we've been kind of living in. And it's so interesting because a lot of us don't realize we have the power to create that disruption within ourselves every single day. Like if there is a path that you're on that just doesn't feel right, you're just miserable, you don't enjoy life, it's time to cause some disruption to kind of offset the journey that you're on, because I think that a lot of times, I mean, myself included, we wait for something to disrupt us and force us to change instead of like taking a stance and realizing that we have the power to create that change every single day.
Yeah. I'm quite curious. Would you mind telling me a little bit about your story? Would that be all right? Because I don't know. I only had to
Yeah.
look at some of the past videos and I liked what you were doing, but I'm very curious.
Yeah. So I'm all about life being a disruption. Like there were so many things that as a child I was told this is how you find happiness. This is how you find success. And my family was very structured in the way that they believed I could find success. Like I had to be a doctor, a lawyer, an architect. Those were my three choices. I was a very creative person, so architecture was the most creative path. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I don't like arguing like that. I find very constricting. When it comes to being a doctor, blood and all that fun stuff, not fun for me. So I was just like, architecture, I guess it is. And through that journey, I didn't really find happiness. Um, and I really started asking myself, I was just like, what has brought me happiness on this journey? Because I've experienced happiness. I just didn't experience it within the field of architecture. And I realized that I was doing like freshman counseling where I was helping freshmen get oriented with college. I worked with international students to help them kind of become more familiar with how things kind of happen here in the United States. And then within every job, the most joy I had was when I was helping people. So I've worked sales jobs in retail. I enjoyed when a customer came in with a problem and I got to help them solve that problem. When I transitioned into tech and I was working in that field, my greatest passion was knowing that someone came in with something that they didn't understand and they left with a better understanding because we were able to walk through that. And I was like, when I sat down and I was just like, I don't know what I want to do. Like, I was like, I feel like my strength is my heart and the fact that I care about everyone and I'm able to have patience enough to see people through perspectives that are different than my own. And I was just like, there's no career that is like, we're going to pay you because you have a good heart. And
If only.
it wasn't until I sat down with my friend and she was like, oh, well, yours is easy. Like, be a life coach. Uh, and it was so crazy because like that never crossed my mind. Like everything I loved was literally in that field, but it wasn't. And doing this, if you had told my younger self that I'd be doing like anything in front of an audience or talking to strangers, I'd be like, yeah, no, that's not happening. Because I was extremely shy, but it was just kind of stepping into my power and stepping into like a job where my heart is my guiding tool and my passion is what guides me through it. And it just kind of developed into this kind of thing where I was like, I was stressing myself out with trying to help too many people all at once personally. And I realized that I could do something like this where now these videos exist online and are helping people even when I'm sleeping. And
Mm.
it's not as stressful for me because I'm able to help large amounts of people in a way that also brings me joy, but doesn't leave me feeling empty at the end of the day.
I love that, something you just said that really resonates with me, that you're helping people even while you're sleeping. Usually the clickbait title or the question is, oh, I'm making money while I'm sleeping, or how can I make money while I'm sleeping? But man, you've got the right question, you've got the right mentality there. How can I be helping people and helping them while you're sleeping? I think that's brilliant. So
Yeah.
what was it hard then to become a life coach, or was that transition really easy?
It it's definitely a forever learning process, but I'm a type of person that if I was not learning every single day, I would feel like something was wrong with my life. I like talking to new people unlocks new parts of me every single day. Even working with clients that are using me as a coach to guide them, when they speak, I am also being guided in that way. So for me personally, it's just a forever learning. I know that I'm fully capable of helping every single individual that wants to work with me. It's just every single day, it's a new learning experience. You can go through certifications in whatever direction you want to take. It's really all about finding your method and what sits well with you. And my method is everyone's answers are in here. I don't have answers for the world. That's impossible. No one single person could do that. But I do have questions that have been very helpful for me and the people I work with that help them unlock the answers within themselves. And that's kind of been my journey of realizing more and more how I can move towards neutral, a space with no bias, and remove all the colored glasses that I've put on through life and realize that there is a core that we're all trying to find. And I just ask people questions to get them there.
They must be pretty great questions.
I mean, it's crazy how simple they are because like I think that we have seen it's nothing's changed since like centuries ago when we had philosophers dropping wisdom. But once you come to that place of realization how simple it is, you start to connect with all those old quotes and things that philosophers from centuries ago used to say. And it's crazy all those like posters you see at like the uh, anywhere. If you go to a Christian store, it's crazy for me. I've looked at different like versions of religion, different mindsets and beliefs, and they all like celebrate and go back to the core values. It's just they put a little bit different wording on the journey, and that's the beautiful thing. Like one's not better than the other. It's just this one will help this group of people, this will help another group of people, and it's perfectly okay that we're all functioning in our own lanes because there isn't a single way of doing things.
Yeah. I last year, I hope this is quite relevant. Last year I spent 2 months in a Hare Krishna temple. And before, I don't know if you know who the Hare Krishnas are.
Mm-mm.
So it's kind of like a religion, a belief based on Indian religions, so Hinduism, and it's kind of stemmed from that. And I didn't even know who they were before I went. I saw these pictures. It was a work away, so I'd go there and I'd work a little bit and I'd just hang out. And I was attracted to it because it was a temple, it was peaceful, it was a different, put my mind in a different place and learn from people that are nothing like me. And what I discovered was because I grew up in a Christian household and I had gone to church a lot, I'd heard these ideas a lot. I was amazed when the guy was talking about something that originated on the other side of the world. And it was like you could replace Jesus with Krishna, and it was the same thing. It was the same, it's exactly like you're saying, the same beliefs that people are coming together with the same values that they want in their lives. And they just have different, perspectives, different ways of getting there. And so I think this relates to what you were saying, it's all these different ways of getting to the same place. And to be honest, I think whatever practically helps you in life, go for it, lean into that.
Yeah. And don't spend energy and time forcing other people to do that. I think a
Mm.
lot of times when you're feeling forceful to convince other people that the way of your thinking is correct, there's some type of insecurity or disconnect that you feel like you need to be validated by other people. You think that other people have to confirm your beliefs for you to be able to sit in that space. And it's like, no, like exist and people will see your existence. And if it's a space of calm and relax, people want to join you in that. But so many people discover a way that works for them and then flip to the mindset of, I need everyone else to think this way. And for me, I'm just like, whatever journey, like the more actions you take in life, the more things that you explore that are different, that, like you said, is the complete opposite of who you are, nothing like who you are as a person. Like you don't have to completely adapt that new thing, but that new thing is now a piece of information that you have to ask yourself, who am I and how do I relate to this? It might be 1%. maybe it's 99%. Like, you never know, but it's okay to just experience something new, because that is a new piece of you that is unlocked forever, that now every new experience that comes into your life, that information is there to help guide you to make decisions.
Yeah, I agree. I do agree. This was one of those experiences as well. It was I didn't come away believing in what they believe in, but man, they were great people. And the fact that I could be open and they could be open, we could share, our beliefs was fantastic. And I was amazed again by how much they aligned anyway, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the beautiful thing about social media is the fact that we can connect with people that are so different than ourselves. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize the power of connecting with them with no like sense of mind of saying, I'm going to change this person or they're going to change me. Just connect with them and realize that most people are exactly the same in the sense that they just want to be happy. They want to live life and find success and find ways to be loved and love other people. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of surface level titles that we've placed on different types of people that keep us from connecting. When we really, if we looked past those, we would see a person that's very similar to us. There's just different journeys that we've been on with different names that we label ourselves with too quickly. And once I kind of start stepping away from labels, because I definitely thought that there was strength in a label, but I've learned with labels come the stereotypes that everyone kind of attaches to you because of your label. I was
Hmm.
like, no, I'm just stepping away from them. I'm going to make labels a little bit more neutral for myself, because what I consider a Christian might not be what someone else considers a Christian. But when they see that label, that is who I become, is whatever stereotype they've attached to that. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's just not as true as a way to judge people.
Yeah, I think that's immensely powerful. Just treating everyone as a complete equal, as another human being with their own complete unique experience, and that you can learn from everybody too. Everyone's got something to teach you. I think it's really hard though. Maybe it's a symptom of our times that everything is so super fast and hyper connected, and we're all over the place. But that like opening up of your authentic self, like that idea that you kind of have to open yourself and be a little bit vulnerable to listen and to share what's really in your heart. I think that is almost like, maybe it's one of the hardest things to do, be truly authentic and not be always wearing these masks. But it's, at least in my case, it's always been the way to beautiful, real, true connection, is when
Yeah.
you can just let go. I'm a human, like this is, I'm vulnerable, this is how I am, and just be willing to experience how people react to that.
Yeah. I mean, people spend so much time worrying about whether or not they're good enough. Uh, and at the end of the day, if you're being your most true, authentic, vulnerable self, the answer is yes. Like, you are good enough. And
Hmm.
people will learn so much more from you by you just existing and being yourself. And whether someone thinks that they're learning from you or not, they are. And I mean, every experience you have, you show someone a different way of being. And for me, like, once I realized that I'm enough and I didn't have anything to prove to anyone, like, I was able to walk through life and connect with people who were CEOs, who were Hollywood celebrities, who are content creators that are just like far beyond me in numbers. And it wasn't, okay, this person's a CEO, I have nothing to teach them because they are obviously up here. I realize that we're all on this playing field, and someone's standing over here, someone else is standing over here, and we can all learn from each other. Something that I know might be something that this person over here never got to cross in their journey until they met me. And if I'm in the mindset of I don't have anything to teach them, then I'm robbing them of a gift of my authentic self, because each of us have something. We just we have to stop believing that we don't have something to give.
Yep. And it's just a lot more fun too, isn't it? When you can just be yourself and throw it out there and be like, all right, and have that attitude of, people can say what they like, but this is me.
Yeah.
That's a cool position to be in, for
Yeah.
sure.
And I mean, like, thinking about when you first jumped into yoga, when you first started to try to teach others and share your knowledge with others, like, did you have a sense of, I'm not an expert, I don't really know everything about it, that kind of maybe held you back in ways that if you realize that exactly who you are, exactly the knowledge you have now is exactly what someone will need on that daily basis.
I think there's always more to learn, I guess. There's always more to learn, but at the time, I think because I was a language teacher before that, and as a teacher, I'd been a teacher for a number of years before that, and so I already had this kind of like this role that I was fulfilling, so it wasn't too difficult. But I guess there's always those moments when someone asks you a question that's a bit like throws you off, or someone's doing something and you're not quite sure, and you have to be a bit humble and step back and be like, oh no, I don't have all of this figured out, but I do have still a lot to give. Like you're saying, like it's easy to feel like an imposter, you know? It's easy to feel like you don't have those skills because they're somewhere deep within you, like you just know these things and you take it for granted. And you have to remind yourself of, the things that you do know and how you can help people. And I have to remind myself of the people that have given me the feedback they've given me, the good comments, yeah, the good stuff. Because it can be so easy to forget.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to the things that we learn from the people around us, it's their journeys of growth that we learn from. It's not like, oh, you're the smartest person on this earth. Oh, let me learn from you. It's how did you go from being born to getting to where you currently are? And
Yeah.
it's not the status that someone has obtained that we learn from, it's watching their journey. That's why like people read biographies and autobiographies because they want to see how the person I am today, how can I relate to this person that has become something great?
Mm.
And it's the journey, like watching you grow from your first class to where you are now. Like that's an inspirational story that people can connect with because we're all growing. And
Mm-hmm.
when people rob people of their journey because they're scared that people will invalidate them because we're like, oh gosh, if someone sees me and thinks I don't know it all, then they're going to think that I'm not someone they should follow or like be taught by, when in reality, like it's inspiring to see someone last year be here now because the growth in between there is really an inspiring story. And a lot of people hide that. And it's because they just don't think that it's inspiring, or they think somehow that journey of growth is something they should be embarrassed of.
Yeah, it's a good thing we have like mediums like this that you can it's easier to share those parts of yourself and those journeys. It's kind of like, it reminds me of some of the most the viral, TikToks, or the most viral videos are often that comparison of, oh, this is where I was and look how I can do it better. Look at me now. Like, look how far I've come. And that is a big inspiration for people. People love that underdog that stuck it out and has made something from it. And also you were saying, there's this idea that there's this guy over here, this CEO, or this, this accomplished, successful person up here that's way out of my league. But often, they're missing big parts in their lives too. Everyone has their own problems. And for me, I always feel like the people that inspire me are the ones that it's something to do with their character. It's not the position they have. It's not the title they've been given or the success that they have. It's who they are and their character, and like almost something to do with how they are, how you can see it in their eyes. That's always what's been inspiring to me is that.
It's crazy because we always focus so much on what we think will validate us in the world. Like a title, like a CEO, is a pretty validating title. Like when you tell someone I'm a CEO of something, you know that people will be like, oh, what is this person? But
Mm.
it's the way you make people feel, it's the way you connect with other people, it's the way you walk through the world, and how a stranger who doesn't know you're a CEO sees you as a person that really matters. And more likely, if you got to the level of CEO and you're not a good person, uh, there's not much holding you up there. It will be very easy for you to fall and no longer be a CEO. If you built an empire like on a single block all the way up, instead of like building some type of foundation for yourself that can hold you in a position of power like that. And I think when powerful people get into those types of positions, you can tell that they did it in a way that created a community that loves and supports them and raised them up to that point, versus the ones who kind of stepped on everyone to get there and knocked everyone else down. There's like the saying of there's one way to be the tallest tower, or two ways to be the tallest tower. You can either burn all the other towers down to where you're the only one standing, or you can continue to work on yourself until you're the tallest tower standing there.
Hmm. I wonder, I've often heard that, you know, a lot of, because I'm obviously nowhere near in the corporate world. I'm not even, I haven't had a corporate job in a long time, but I've often heard from people that have that it is oftentimes some of these negative environments where you get people that are standing on other people's necks just to get ahead, or, you know, crawling through. But obviously that doesn't have to be the way. It's quite
Yeah.
clear because, like you say, you can see people that have made it, people that are inspiring, and they've done it in a good way. You can almost tell.
Yeah.
I think that
There
it's their character, right?
Yeah, there have been so many times where the caring type of person that I am, I've outshone people who told me that I would have to change myself to be successful in different parts of my life. And that's one of the things that I stand very proud in, is the fact that the way they were saying felt so wrong to me. And I just couldn't do that. I couldn't lie to people. I couldn't use other people around me. I couldn't date multiple people at the same time, just
Mm.
because like there are so many different things that people will advise you on that just, if it doesn't feel right, you shouldn't be doing it. Like, and I've grown in a way that I stuck very true to my core values, which I'm very thankful for, that my grandfather instilled in me. Like, if you don't have core values, at the end of the day, you have nothing. And I stuck to those. And there were definitely times where life wasn't going my way. And I was like, maybe my core values just aren't going to get me there. And I continued. When opportunities came, I was like, this doesn't fit with me. Like, this just doesn't sit well on my heart. And I turned opportunities down for things that weren't as well off when it came to pay, or wasn't as well off when it came to growth. But some of the opportunities that I turned down, they just didn't sit with me. Like, it just felt really wrong. And I was like, there's a reason this feels wrong, and I have to walk away from it. And I can't put myself in this situation
Mm.
where I let go of my core values, because I don't want to have nothing at the end of the day.
And of course, you might get like a little boost in, you know, some short-term gains from these tactics that are not in line with your values. But then you sacrifice this foundation that you're talking about, this the most important part of yourself. Yeah, I think you're onto something there.
Yeah. And I mean, being in the content creating realm, since you're on TikTok and here on Instagram, like, it is so easy to see other people growing quickly uh, in different ways, and assuming that you're going to have to sacrifice your authentic self and be more like those people that are growing, just because you're seeing them grow quick. And you're like, you know
Mm.
what? I'm going to have to sacrifice what I identify as to be more like these people who are growing, when in all actuality, you just haven't tapped into your audience yet, because who you are at your most authentic like line of self is exactly what the world needs you to be. And if you start pretending to be someone else, sure, you might get tons of followers, but eventually you will hit that point where being this fake person or doing this thing that doesn't align with you and your core values, eventually you're going to come tumbling and crashing and have to come back to your authentic self. And then all those followers that you gained by being someone you're not, they are not going to align with the you that you should have been all along and grown from that space. And
Right.
it's crazy when you hit that realization, because I mean, we are all trying to find, like, humans want to be connected with, and we want to feel loved. And if you give up the authentic self to be loved, like, you won't even feel loved, because you're like, well, I'm
It's not
pretending to
you.
be this person. And it's like, they love this mask that I'm wearing. They don't love me. And that's not a good place to sit either.
I think that's maybe why there's a lot of depressed, you know, these influencers, a lot of depressed, a lot of suicidal people that are at the top of their game supposedly, maybe because they're doing all these things that they think they have to do, and then they realize, well, actually, it's not even me that these people like. Maybe just a theory, but it sounds to me it makes a lot of sense. I also think it's probably quite important, at least for me, is to get off this and to not be thinking about social media all the time, to not be on this all the time, and to allow it to occupy too much of my mind. So like I need to consciously say to myself, you can do, I actually have little time segments that I can be on, because my mind is, you know, it's quite easily addicted. And these programs, they're designed to be addictive, like billions of dollars are spent making them so. So I have to set times where I'm like, okay, now go out for a walk and just, you know, be in nature, be with friends, do something else, play some sports, reconnect with life, because this is not all it is.
Yeah. And I mean, once you come to that realization that these things are created to hold you in this space, like, that's a freeing thought as well. Because once you start to discover everything that is created to hold you in a space of addiction, I mean, corporate America, corporate anything, it's built to make you buy things. It's built to make you believe you need other things to be happy, that you yourself by yourself is not enough. You need other things.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is no different. It can be used as a tool in that way as well. And it's just so important to have that realization so that you can break free and do the things that you enjoy. Because, yeah, it's so easy to sit on your phone and see all your friends living life and be jealous and start to fall into a depression. Or you can sit your phone down and go do those things and realize that there is so much that you've got in life to be grateful for. You just choose to spend the time on social media, or you don't even have to be on the computer or phone. You can look at other people. You can be sitting on a bench at the park and be looking at those people and being like, man, I wish I could go have fun like them. And it's like, you can get off the phone. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Oh, yeah, it was yesterday I was feeling, for me, I feel like because I meditate every day, I sit with my thoughts a lot. When I have these emotions come up, I'm generally pretty good at finding out where they're coming from, what are the triggers. And I notice that if I'm on this too often, there's emotions that rise within me that I don't enjoy. There's this, not anxiety, this almost like this pressure that rises that I don't enjoy. And I have to recognize it and say, oh, this is the cause, and then go out and do something that is freeing. You know, in my case, yesterday I was just making YouTube videos all of yesterday and editing. I was like, you know, and on here as well. And I was like, no, you need a break. I could feel the pressure rising. Just went out to the park, petted some strangers' dogs, you know, talking to random people, and just the relief, it just, for me, was almost instantaneous being out. I live right next to this beautiful park, and because it's Colombia, the trees are massive, the birds are everywhere. So it's not actually that big, but you feel like you're in the middle of the jungle when you're in there. And for me, sometimes all it takes is to step in there to feel completely alive again, to feel rejuvenated. So I'm lucky to have that, actually.
Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting, like just going out and existing in other people's realms. Like humans want to connect, whether we're shy or have anxiety when it comes to the thought of connecting with other people. Like we are meant to connect with other people. So if you go out and you see people playing volleyball, walk up and say you want to play.
Mm.
Like people want to connect, and like in that sense, like that's scary for some to think of going up to a group of strangers and asking to play, but people want to connect with others, and like
For
a
sure.
dog is a great way to connect with someone. I can't tell you how many people I've walked up to and complimented the dog and then asked if I could pet it, and then a conversation branched from that. And I'm usually a pretty awkward person in general. I've had to kind of get a little bit better at it as more people have been recognizing me from online and approaching me and knowing a little bit more about me than I know about them. But
Right.
it's definitely a thing that we are meant to do. We are meant to connect with one another. That's why people exist in a realm of like happiness. Is if you think about it, a lot of our happiness moments are connected to the fact that we've connected to someone else or someone has inspired us to do something.
Oh, yeah.
Because most of happiness, I can guarantee you that there's a root of someone else connected to you in a way that maybe at first you're like, oh, I'm reading a book by myself. Yeah, but that's written by someone else. You're connecting to them through words.
Mm.
There are so many different ways for us to connect with other people that I think a lot of us don't realize that being a very important core thing in the human like being.
Oh, essential, like water, like food. Like you need it. You absolutely need it. It's on top of the list, and it's like you say, like without other people, anything that you're doing, does it matter? Where's the significance if you can't share it or it involves other people?
Yeah,
Yeah, and like you were saying as well, everyone wants to connect. You shouldn't feel scared or you can feel scared, but you shouldn't feel worried that someone's going to react badly to you if you approach them on that park bench or for that volleyball game or whatever, because people are like just waiting for that. Everyone's so open to talk and to connect with someone else.
yeah,
Sometimes all it takes is like a smile. Like I'm always surprised when I'm walking down the street and I almost like I have to force myself to smile sometimes and really wish someone. I hear it's a buenos dias, smile at someone and say buenos dias. And it's amazing to me how some people they're like, whoa, and then they light up. You're like, oh, that was so simple, you know? And this just makes you feel incredible. Just that simple little smiling at someone, that connection, eye contact.
yeah. And like
Unbelievable.
circling back around to like kind of what you said right at the beginning when it came to the content you create is what you need. Uh, like think about what you need and then go give it to other people in the world. So yeah, when someone walks by me and smiles, like today I went for a walk and someone complimented the color of my hair and it made me smile, and I was just like, I have the power to do that as well. Like I can easily walk by someone and say, I really like your hair. It's a simple compliment. I think too often we're so focused on being a victim of life and wishing that others would do things to make us feel better, not realizing that we have the power to, one, make someone else's day better, and two, in return, our day becomes better because now we're smiling because we made someone else smile.
Mm.
And it's a chain reaction that a lot of people don't ever realize that that's a power that they hold in their own hands. We're too often wishing others would do to us, but it's just like, what do you want someone to do to you? Okay, go do it.
Hmm. Yeah, and that those little moments can actually have massive implications. Even just now, like talking about this, I remember walking down a street in Scotland maybe 3 years ago, and this guy walking down the other side of the street who just gives me the brightest smile I've ever seen. And I remember feeling for hours afterwards, like just elated from that fact that someone smiled at me. It's so simple. And I remember the fact that I remember it years later, that one instance, is a powerful testament to that.
Yeah. And you never know what people are going through. And if you get a bad response, don't let that be something that stops you from doing it to someone else, because most of the time it has nothing to do with you. It's the journey that they're on. And some people are having really rotten days, and a smile might not be the solution to their problem that day. But
Hmm.
like that smile, even if they react in a negative way, even if a compliment gets them kind of throwing something rude back in your face, like you can't say, wow, this is a horrible person. Look at them is look at it in a way of that person is in so much pain right now that a compliment made them react in this way. And then now that's giving you back your power to make a positive change in the world, and realize that the world needs even more of it, because there are some people so far down in these black holes of pain and fear that a compliment made them react this way. And realize that you can't stop doing it just because you got a negative reaction from one person or a
Hmm.
couple people in a day, because believe it or not, there are going to be instances where something you've done will impact someone in such a way that they do remember it from years from now. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to give someone.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Like I'm very grateful for this platform and being able to do positive talks, and the messages I receive from people definitely warm my heart. But like I remember I was in college and there was this kid who he smiled all the time. Like he was a he was a light on the campus. And there was one day where I walked by him and he was not smiling. And I just sent him a text and I was just like, hey, hope you're doing okay. Didn't see that beautiful smile that is usually being worn on your face. And he told me years later that that day had been really rough, and that he was in a space where he was contemplating suicide, and that he was walking back to his dorm room with the thought of ending it all. And I don't even remember that moment. Like I don't remember saying that to him. I don't like that moment was so defining to him, but for me it was such a quick 2-second text to him as a person, but it was life changing for him. And he still to this day messages me and he's like, I just want to like let you know, like you changed my life. And I was like, I don't remember that moment. Like it, but when you're constantly giving that type of energy out into the world, like you will change people's lives in ways that you don't understand. And you are so powerful. And a simple smile or a simple compliment does things for people that you may never fully understand, the shifts you've made in people's lives.
Absolutely. I've heard many other stories like this as well. There's just that one tiny moment, that one comment, that one text can be so life changing.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had moments like that. I can give certain people the like, hey, on that day you changed my like you shifted me in such a way. Like I used to, when I was traveling to my old job, I would go to the same gas station every day to get breakfast and my morning like drink to kind of bring energy into my life. And most days I'm a super happy person. Like I'm cheerful, I'm happy, like I compliment, I smile. But there were days where like I wasn't that way. I was experiencing a tough time. And a woman that was there most mornings when she was working, Like, she pointed stuff out. She's like, where's that beautiful smile? And like, I was having a rough day and honestly, like, was not smiling. And she's like, just to let you know, like, your beautiful smile coming in here every morning, it brightens my day. And like, a compliment like that in a moment where I felt like I was just navigating the world so alone made me realize that I'm being noticed even when I feel like I don't exist in anyone's world. Someone noticed that I was there every day, and the person I was creating a space for someone else to have a better day. And I never realized that. And once you kind of tap into yourself, uh, you just existing changes the course of everyone's life you come in contact with, whether you're in a good or a bad mood. You exist, and because of that existence, it has a ripple effect on everyone that's ever contacted with you on a daily basis.
I can say just from this conversation, man, I've got the good feelings. You know, I know that this is going to affect the rest of my day. It's just simply from getting online and talking to you, honestly. So thank you for the invitation. Like this, it's so easy sometimes.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you came on. I had originally found you on TikTok and I followed the link over to Instagram because this is where I house my positive talk. But I personally don't look at numbers when it comes to that type of stuff. As soon as I saw your content, I was just like, I connect with that. Like, he's
Hmm.
doing something, he's providing information for the world and giving someone out there like a new avenue to explore something new within themselves. And I was like, I want to bring him on to a positive talk. And like, it's always interesting because there are some people who are too shy to do something like this, and I respect that. But when you said yes, I was like, yes, I'm super excited about that.
I always think as well, like, because I know I don't have a big audience, but I always think if one person, if what I'm saying really to myself or what I'm showing that I've learned that's helped me, if one person gets benefit from that, that I'm ecstatic. And especially if they let me know, which has happened so many times now that I love it. And I'm not gonna stop, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's what we have to realize that we need to do more of is the beautiful lights that exist in this world. And you're one of those lights. Sometimes you just need someone to let you know that all the effort that you put into it, because it can get stressful sometimes. Like, editing videos isn't as fun as just doing it by yourself in your space of like calm, but you know that what you can provide is a gift to someone else. So you do it anyway. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. But it's just like everyone in our lives, like, realize that a compliment saying, hey, mom, I just want to let you know that all you did for me, I really respect that and I appreciate it. Hey, stranger on the street, your smile just really made me smile. Thank you. Like, saying that and letting people know that you appreciate it really just throws logs on their fire so that they can continue to do it. And
Yeah.
during the pandemic, one thing I noticed was some people that were lights to me that inspired me to keep going were starting to dim. And I was like, oh, we can't have that. I was like, I am going to send them a long message and let them know how everything that they've done up until this point has been such an inspiring thing for me to keep going. And like, I do that and I instantly watch people, their lights brighten back up. And we have to keep doing that.
Yeah, yeah, we got to support each other in that. If you see something, it's funny because I actually made a video. It was a little while, a couple weeks back, about this, you know, and it was if you see something beautiful, if you see something beautiful in someone else, say it in the moment. Give them what you're thinking, you know, share that because it can just change everything.
Yeah. And it's so simple. And we're so scared to do that sometimes. And
Mm.
sometimes you just got to get through that fear. And it's, it's you being afraid of being judged, but like giving someone a compliment and letting them know that something they've done has affected you in a positive way. Like, most people unless they're in a deep, dark hole, uh, most people will accept that, and that will really give them the strength to do it continually for longer, because everyone can burn out. And if you feel unappreciated and unseen for too long, you do burn out.
Hmm. Right. Yeah, I've got so many stories now. They just keep popping up to me. It was the other day I was in the supermarket here, and there's this cashier. She's just sitting there, she, deadpan face, and I just thought to myself, like, what could I say? What could I do that? What do I notice about her that I like? And I saw her nails were impressive, like really long, kind of scary, but just so impressively done. And I noticed that, and I mentioned that, and her face lit up. It's just like you say, who knows what other effect that had, but in that moment, it just changed her whole, I guess how she was feeling.
Yeah.
So
Nails are something, when it comes to anyone who's painted their nails, that is something that they've intentionally done
yeah,
to, like, not to get attention, but they've done it on purpose. And when you give them a compliment, like, that's a compliment of you acknowledging the work that they put into or paid for to have those done. And
yeah.
most of the time people feel very appreciative of those type of compliments.
Oh, definitely, definitely. I learned that. I learned that a while ago. Compliment nails. When you see good nails, compliment nails. You will not regret it.
Yeah, when I was a manager at Best Buy, we had like some low ratings when it came to our customer connection with our associates. And as a manager, I was like, okay, you have to compliment every single person that you work with. Because in the mobile department where I worked, we spent a good almost an hour with every customer, if not more. And I was like, you better be complimenting that guy's hair. And they're like, well, he's bald. I'm like, well, you better compliment his bald, shiny head, because there was such a disconnect between us and people. And I was like, a compliment is a quick way to get someone, like, they feel seen and noticed as a person. And then they don't see you as a robotic employee that's only working for a paycheck. They now see you as a human being that they can connect with, because connection's so important. And it's just like, that's the simple way to connect. Like, i I every time I walk from here to the grocery store, which is literally right across the road, every person I come in contact with, I'm like, I'm going to make a difference, because most of my day is spent sitting indoors working on my computer. When I
Mm,
have a chance to interact with a real human being, I'm like, I'm going to make it count.
yeah, yeah. I gotta remind myself to do the same more often, man.
Yeah.
Really do.
I mean, I see that we've gone over our hour or so. I will say, like, you are definitely a light. You definitely bring a lot to the world, and there is so much that you have within you to share. So don't rob the world of what you have to share. Like, share it. Your authentic self is exactly who you need to be, and the world needs it. We all need you to be who you are, because you're definitely burning bright. And I'm glad the TikTok algorithm god put you on my feed so that I could connect with you.
Thank you for that, Drummond. I really appreciate it. Thank you for bringing me on too. Like, you've been an inspiration just talking for this hour. I can tell
I,
that we're on the same page. So I'll
yeah,
be following these in the future.
awesome. Well, I will let you go so that you can enjoy the rest of your day, and definitely keep in touch.
I will do. See you next time.
Awesome. Bye.